Okay guys, this is part two. And since the other ones I did were so far away, I tried to get really close to this. And I wanted to show you, how this goes. I'm still going to be using that 3B pencil. Of course, I want it nice and sharp, so I'm going to put it in the sharpener. And y'all got one of these, so it's going to be pretty easy. I'm just going to sharpen it to make sure I got a good point. Okay, I'll make sure that I've got that point all the way through, and of course I'll have to wear my glasses for this. Okay, we got our sketch, we got our reference, and notice they're set up equal across here. So the first thing I want to do is I just wanted to establish a value. I don't want it really dark, I don't want it really light, and I'm going to hold my pencil like this. I don't want to get in there and start doing one of these things. So, and I'm also going to sit back. Now I also want you to watch my head when I'm looking, because if I'm holding my pencil here, I'm looking here. So I'm doing one of these things before I even start to make sure that where I'm going, I'm looking. So if my pencil's here, my eyes are here. So, and this is the kind of ideas. And all I'm going to do, and this helps you also stop from overworking things, and you're just basically always looking. Hopefully you can see my head the way it's turning. Since I'm looking here, I'm not seeing the camera. Let's see here. There's not a whole lot to this. Basically, it's a very simple process, and no matter what you do, like you even see me working on the Picassos, it's no different than that. Okay, so, I went over that a little bit though. I'm also not going to erase. I'm just going to come in here and create the values. I'm just doing this, and this, what this teaches you. Now see, what I did is I forgot part of the leg, didn't I? So I'm going to have to come up here. Yep, and I'm going to have to invent. So I'm going to come here. This is what happens when you forget to draw it in. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I forgot a little bit of it. I must have been talking at the same time. So when you're doing this, you can kind of see it's a really light. It doesn't have to, you don't want it dark. You just want to establish kind of these areas. I'm going to come up here to the neck. Again, where am I looking? I'm always looking at my drawing. I'm always looking at my reference, more so than on my drawing. And on the first, like I said, the first value, you just want to make sure you do it light enough to where you can go darker. So this is like a number, it's like a number 1 or number 2 value, or maybe a 2 or 3. And if you look this way, and the way I'm doing this, it keeps you from mucking things up. Because sometimes we think we see things and it isn't exactly the way it's supposed to be. So you'll always see me looking here. And honestly guys, anybody can do this. This is not that hard. You kids are all pretty intuitive on things like that. So, there's that first value. Okay, now I can go in and do a complete opposite, and I can find an area that's darkest, right? So I'm looking underneath here, and I can go in here and set that up, my darkest value. Yeah? So since I know that is the darkest she's going to get, I can come in here with the side of my pencil. And this one here, I don't have to look as much. And you can kind of see how dark that is in comparison? Okay, so then, of course, if I've got that value established, then I know, like it comes here. That's like this, if this is a 10 or a 1, depending on how dark it is, then this right here would be about a 9. So I got to really take that down. So you're going to go through a lot of pencil doing this. And you've already got your drawing, so you're not really having to, worry so much that it's not, you've done something that isn't going to look good or done something that isn't correct. And I'm going to move around a little bit too. I don't want to necessarily stay there. I want to move, even in the sketching, I want to go in here. I'm going to take that down. I want to step back, take a look. I want to always go backwards on what I'm doing. Now I want to move to here. Again, you see my pencil. I'm not. And there's a lot of different values here, so you can go just slightly dark. Don't do a 10, but do like an 8 or a 7. So leave some areas in there because you're going to pretend like this is all, different type of hide or hair or whatever. And notice I am looking all the time at my reference, even doing this. So it's not like I'm having you guys do one thing and I'm doing another. Now the reason why you don't go this dark here, because there's so many different values going on there, and I don't want to do that with this. All I want to do is just darken it up a little bit at a time, because all this stuff is going to start appearing. And notice also how I'm holding my pencil. Okay, so it's all about not, when we do this, it means that we want a detail or we're writing. So if we do this, we're always stuck in these little tiny areas, but if we hold it like this, it doesn't allow us to do that down to detail. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're doing this. We're going to come here, we got a little bit of some there, got a little bit here. So you can kind of see them appearing a little bit, So that's kind of the area you want. And so I'm going to come here, because that kind of darkens up here a little bit. It's not dark like this, and it's not dark like that. So you got to be looking every time you're doing this, and you're going to be looking at how you apply these values. This is what I was talking about. All these things we're doing is basically that. Now we're going to put it to use. That's what this is for. So that darkens up a little bit. And this buffalo has some texture. I mean, his hide has some texture to it. So I want to leave some texture in there for that. I'm going to come here. I got to darken. The values here are close, so I'm going to have to change that a little bit, even though, because I need to drop that back because this leg comes forward. Also, this is also where rotating a line comes in, because then I can go ahead and put that in there. So we do know that this is about a 9 or 10 on the value scale. So there's going to be a mixture, or maybe an 8. And we'll talk about values here in a second, because I actually picked something up I wanted you guys to see. And this is an actual value scale that we use in the real world. This is a 10 scale grayscale. See, values. And the way you do this, you say, okay, where's my value? So if I use this keyhole and I start going here, obviously this color is not that color, so this color is here. So if I come in here, as dark as my pencil can get, I can't really get any darker than that. So that would be my number 10. So, okay, so let's look here. So let's go, it's about right here. So if I go here, see how light that is? I've got to go darker. So you shade, you can see it's starting to get closer. So you can kind of see how that works. So you can control your values with this thing to make sure that what you're doing is exactly what you want. So there's a little bit of things you can do to control this. Okay, some areas you're just going to have to like bite the bullet. Other areas you just go back to your pencil the way you want. And I've been working this way for a lot of years, so it does work, folks. And the only reason why I'm even showing this to you guys is because this is exactly what we do. Starting to look like kind of a buffalo, isn't it? So then, of course, if I need to go darker, I can. Because that area, this whole area in here is pretty dark. You know, except where it comes into these guys right here, these guys. You know, or up here. If we start going really dark, then we can kind of look in these areas where it is dark or lighter, or like a number 10 value versus at 9. So we can kind of like control this a little bit. So probably should put that in there a little. Oh, hang on. Really? I'm really liking these 3B pencils. They're right about the middle of where you want to be with your. They're not too dark and not too light. Like a 6B would be really dark. I don't necessarily want that. What I definitely want to do is I want to make sure I can get some different values in here. So I want you to look, if you're watching my head, look where I'm looking. I'm not, wherever my pencil is at, that's exactly where I'm looking. So if I'm here, I'm here. So every time you see my head move, my pencil move, I'm moving in unison with it. It makes it so I don't make mistakes. Well, I mean, given how small this image is. Now, like up here, we have like a 1 or 2, I would say a 2. So I'm going to kind of put that in here. You know, some of this is like a 6 or 7. So you want to adjust your, you know, you want to adjust some of these things to fit with the buffalo. And we have this guy right here, which is a 10. That's his nose. And I'm just going to do some of this here. So you can kind of see he's kind of appearing. Now, I can spend a long time on these sketches, but I have to make a decision. Do I want to paint, or do I want to, you know, what I want to do? So for me, I've kind of gone away from doing that. So, you know, it's something that I want you to try. Okay. And if you've got enough information in there, you should be able to should be enough information in there for you to do this work. So, and you know, what I'm looking at when I'm looking at your drawings, I'll be looking at how you handled the values, how you handled the drawing itself. Was there enough information for you to work? I mean, that's kind of like, that's always been the biggest part, the biggest problem with people is they are too quick with their drawing and don't take enough, and they do not take enough time with this part. And the more you understand this part here, the better your drawings will be. So I'm going to put this in here. Now see, this is all like the top part of him. Okay, there's not a whole lot of information there. So we got to invent some you know, values up here, same as up here. Because actually, when you start getting around this part of the head, you start seeing the shape. So you have to make a determination, where are you going to put your information in for this shape? Now, if you're drawing this stuff out, you're not going to, you know, you're not going to draw this in so heavy and then take your finger in. You can do one of these things. That kind of helps a little bit. Kind of, you know. There's also blending stumps and stuff like that. So if I'm looking at this now, okay, I'm looking here to here. Painting wise, I got enough. But drawing wise, I want to make sure that I got as many values as possible. I'm just going to drop in the shadow. And this shadow is something you definitely need. And you want to be able to understand that, like right here is going to be dark. And it's going to lighten up as we get closer to this other leg. Because the way this is, the legs are so thin here that the light, the way it's hitting, I mean, it's hitting kind of like this. So it's coming back here. So on this side of the buffalo, it's going to be dark here. And I'm going to do this. Okay. So you can kind of see him kind of appearing. And we can go back in here also. And don't think you have to I can keep going on this and going on this and going on this. So it depends on where you want to stop, how much you want to do, what you want to do. But the object of the game is I want to be able to see at least 7 or 8 values on these. Sometimes you're not going to see them, sometimes you are. And if you put them in, face it, this is the value, folks. This is the value. This is the value. This is the value. So every time we shade something, we put a light or dark mark on a paper, it's considered a value. Okay. If I want to keep going on this, I can refine this down. And we can make this more. You can see how dark I got that right there. This underneath the back of his leg. And once you understand values, then changing them on purpose is really where it's at. You can't break the rules unless you know them, and you can't know the rules unless you attempt to break them. So always my suggestion is that you always learn the rules first, then you break every single one of them to fit your needs. Okay. These textures also represent values. So I'm going to come here. That comes down like that. I can kind of go with these values here. Kind of comes down. There's a little bit of light that's hitting him here that you can't see in the film. And I'm going to come up here. If I'm blurring my vision, I can kind of get a sense of a value here, coming up toward the back of his neck. So you can kind of see him happening, right? I mean, this is how we sketch. I'm not making this stuff up. And you guys are watching me do it, so you obviously know I know how to, sometimes I got to come in here and since we know that that horn is pretty okay, I'm going to come here. I'm going to do work in that eye a little bit here. Kind of comes out. Some of this actually has a little bit lighter effect. So I'm going to come in here and darken that up around that horn because it's got this whole area is inset. And notice another thing, you're not seeing me use an eraser either. So just keep that in mind that and if I want to go to a darker value, I can. As long as I don't immediately start off that way. If I start off working with a value that sits like that, okay, so let's check our values. I'm going to look here. Okay, so if I'm looking here, okay, knowing that this right here is going to be there, and I turn this over, I want to see none of those, this does not fit in any value there. So if I hold this here, I'm getting closer to here or here. Okay, if we know that that is there, it's more there. So if we go, if that's our darkest values, then I have to take this down to there. See how that fits? I have a lighter value here, darker here. That's what these value scales are for. Now, if I do this right, I'll show you the difference. I'll just do it right here. See the difference here and here? So there's a slight difference. There's not much difference between this, but you know, I don't want to necessarily go as dark as that. If I do, I'll lose my shape of my buffalo. Then he just becomes something, I don't know. I'm going to drop another value in there. Here. You know, so all these little things I'm doing are just things I want to do to make sure when I'm done that the buffalo looks three-dimensional, kind of looks like what he is type thing, and I'm not trying to add anything to it. As you can see, everything I put in here so far is exactly what's in the, it's everything that's exactly in the photograph. And I took this shot up in the bison range by Thompson Falls, Montana, and it was a really nice day for this. So guys, this is one way of doing value sketching, making sure that what you got here, and you can spend your time doing this. It's not as painful as you guys think it is, you know. And it doesn't matter. You know, this is made for people that have never done this before. So I want to do something here. The little theory of light. Whenever light hits something, it's always darkest on the darkest side, the light. So you always do really dark and then fade out the light. So I'll come here, make it really, really dark, and then I'll fade that out. So down here it's lighter. So as you can kind of see that. So when I step back from this drawing, I should be able to step back at least 50 feet and see my buffalo. Now, because this up here, if I'm trying to give him some something visible on the back where all this is, there's so much white and you got white back here, there's nothing to say you can't do that. Where you're gonna like put it in and just do it, you know. But remember that there has to be something here to represent that shape, and since it's a lot of fur, even though the values are the same. So guys, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and stop here, let you consider this. I have these here at the school if you want them. If you want to try this, I encourage you to try it. It's not as hard as you think. You guys can see me doing it here. And, you know, you're always welcome to come into class and do this. I mean, I will, you know, not chase you off. So, and like I said, I can keep working on this thing for a very, very long time. Just, you know, hammering it out, making it look good, making it look almost three-dimensional. And as you can see, it doesn't look too bad as it is. I mean, it's a workable sketch. But as toward anything else, you know, I don't usually put this much effort into my sketching when I'm getting ready to paint. So like right through here, that's a really dark value. So I'm going to come in here with my pencil. I'm just going to drop it down. And you should be able to see the difference on that already. Look at here and then look at here. Okay, like right here. Okay, that's a really dark value. Like I said, I could spend forever on this. You know, type thing. And move around your drawing. Don't concentrate to an area too long. If you do, you're going to wind up just working way too much. See, my value is different here, isn't it? It's lighter, even though that value is darker. But it's like when I come up here to his leg. Okay, so This is in essence is a value sketch. Now, one thing I haven't really talked about is dry cleaning erasers. Okay, so say you like your sketch and you want to just clean it up. You want to get all the schmutz off there, and you know it's pretty light work. So you use a dry cleaning eraser to clean up all that excess stuff. If that isn't good enough, then go into your, let me see here, your gum eraser, or actually your kneadable eraser. That's this one here. And you can actually remove a bunch of stuff just with that. So if you're trying to make it nice and clean, which I don't necessarily think I like that much, but you can kind of see this video is probably, let me see how long is this? This is 25 minutes, so this might be too long for YouTube. I might just save it onto the desktop so you guys can kind of see this. But the main thing is, when you're doing this, just always take your time. People who, you know, and really understanding this is really for people who can't draw, don't want to draw, don't want to do any of this kind of stuff. Okay? Because what you're going to find is that the more you do this, the more you're going to like it. The more you actually do this, the better you get, no matter what you're looking at. So if I'm going to sit here and, you know, do this, why not put my time into it? And then, of course, if you need to render a line, you can. You know, you can refine these lines where, you know, it's like going through the back here. You know, anywhere there's light. Depending on now, the only reason why I did the entire shape like this with this is because of you guys. I wanted to make sure you guys could see that you want to get as much information as down there as possible. So when you start doing the sketching process, that you see where the lines are. So I can match things up. I can look here and here at the same time. So if I'm going to work here, I can hold my pencil here and look at the same time and keep moving, because I'm not really, you know, I'm not really looking here only. Now, typically what happens when people are drawing, they will look here, they will look there, oh yeah, I got it, and then look here, and then they never look back. And then they stand back for some reason, and it doesn't work. Because they are sitting there, they can't understand why what they saw here after staring here so long doesn't work to this. Because our memories are not that good. So when we're sitting here working, and we look here, and we go here, our memory is only as long as we've looked there. So if we're looking here all the time, and moving our pencil around, at the same time we're looking, you know, and here, and you can kind of see my head move. That got a little darker right there, so I'm going to take that. See, that's the darker value. See, and the more you change those values, the more, see how this kind of starts having more of a structure? And of course this changed that, so I got to come back here and change a lot of it so it doesn't look like he's got a, you know. Now notice I'm not trying to come up to this value. I'm trying to match what I see here. And of course, remember we also looked at through the value scale, and it needed to go darker anyway. And of course I can go back in here, take that darker if I want. So this is not something that only for select few or people or anything else like this. This is basically for everybody. So anybody that can hold a pencil can do this. It's not complicated. You're just basically always looking here at the same time here. If I'm looking here, I don't want to move my pencil, I want to move it to where I'm at. Here, I'm going to be here. If I'm all the way over here, and the lines help me recognize where I belong. So you can kind of see, I'm going to move my finger where my head's at and my pencil's at. And you can watch, it's almost like I'm replicating the movement with my eyes and hands. And that's another thing you want to do, is you want to get used to hand and eye coordination. And sometimes I'm going to use this one here. I want to take so yeah, if say, you know, if you think you're getting too dark, don't be afraid to notice I blew that off. I didn't use my finger and also haven't sharpened my pencil. See? So basically this is how we do this. Now one thing I'm looking at his back end over here, and you know, if you're trying to now one thing you guys haven't really explored is that blending step. So if I come in here, I can do something like this. I can come up here and I can tease a lot of work. If I want to create it back here, a backside, I can come up there like that. And you can kind of see the buffalo pop out. Now if I do this, it removes some of that values I put in there, but this also, I'm using the very tip of it. You can see how dark it got. And then when I move up here, I just rotate it, so what it does, it's giving me, you know, a different darkness, because if I go back, see how dark that is? So I always want to work really soft with that blending stump. And it's going to tell me when I'm doing this, if I need to, you know, if I have to go dark or light or whatever, if I want to make it more structural, you know, like right through here, if I want to, you know, go really light, really dark. So, and if I've got my eraser, you see there's some light parts here. Don't be afraid of, you know, that's what these erasers are made for. They're made for not necessarily eliminating your mistakes. It's for helping the finished image. So what do you guys think? Not too bad, not too hard. I know you guys can do this. I'm going to save this video. Maybe I'll play it for a class so you guys can get an idea how to do this kind of stuff. It's not that complicated. It's not that hard. Anybody can do this, I guarantee you. You just have to,